There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. Today is February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. I hope all of you remembered your loved ones with chocolates, flowers, and many kisses. We are continuing the series today, Introduction to Easton Clergy. And I am honored and very pleased to have with me today my very own pastor, Pastor John Polk of the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, located at 143 Lincoln Street in North Easton, and one of our parishioners, Julie Johnson, who has accompanied Pastor Polk. So welcome, Pastor.
Thank you. It's good
Julie.
to be here.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, Pastor, tell me a little bit, or tell our audience a little bit about your background, how you became a pastor, your early years, and so forth, motivations and aspirations.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. It's good to be here. I grew up in the church, in the Lutheran Church in America, so I'm a cradle Lutheran. I come from, on my mother's side, a long history of Lutheran pastors all the way dating back to Norway. And so on my mother's side, it was kind of a normal, expected thing, but I'd never really wanted to become a pastor. It wasn't a burning desire at all for me, even though I grew up in the church and my parents were charter members of 2 new Lutheran churches. But after college, I began to explore what I wanted to do with my degrees, and in so doing, I met with a Lutheran pastor for some counseling and career counseling and other kinds of counseling to kind of guide my way. And it was really through my experience with that Lutheran pastor and his guidance of me that I received, quite unexpectedly, and I wasn't really thrilled about it, but a call to ministry. And so at first I reluctantly responded to that call and went to seminary and changed my life completely. But I have been since then very grateful for that unexpected call to ordain ministry.
Wonderful. And so tell us about your first church. Where were you?
Well, I served a church in Hoboken, New Jersey called St. Matthew's Trinity Lutheran Church. I was there for 1 year as a resident. I was learning the ropes of how to do inner city ministry in the country, because that's what I wanted to specialize in. I wanted to specialize in reviving churches that were decaying and declining in inner cities in the country. So after that 1 year of residency, the deal was that I would go where I was sent, and I was sent to Kansas City, Missouri. I had to look it up on a map. I didn't know where it was. And so I traveled to Kansas City, Missouri with my wife and son, and we began a new adventure in an inner city church in Kansas City, Missouri.
And how long were you there?
I was there almost 5 years, and then I served a suburban church in Kansas City for 9 years, and then I served another church in Kansas City, Kansas for 11 years. And all that time I also served as a board-certified chaplain in different healthcare settings.
So you were a busy guy.
Yep.
Yeah, and you certainly don't look that old.
Well, thank you.
All those years.
Thank you.
And then you came east.
I came east, yes. I received a job at Massachusetts General Hospital to serve as the director of chaplaincy, the director of spiritual care at Mass General. It was the chance of a lifetime. It was an exciting opportunity. So I left everything and everyone behind and moved to Boston and served at Mass General for about 5 years.
Okay. And then you became interim pastor at Holy Trinity Lutheran in North Easton.
Yes. Yes, I wanted to get back to parish ministry, so I was called as the part-time interim, served that for 3 years, and was expecting to leave and go to another ministry, but the Holy Spirit was up to something that we all didn't expect, from my perspective and from the congregation's perspective, and that interim position resulted in the congregation calling me full-time almost 2 years ago to be the pastor.
Well, as a member of the call committee,
Oh, yes.
I have to disagree with you, because from the very beginning, I knew that you were going to be our permanent pastor. That was my mission, because you are one of the most outstanding preachers that I and many others in the church have said, most outstanding that we've ever met.
Well,
And
thank you.
yeah, and you have inspired people of other faiths who come for an event, hear your inspiring sermons, and are suddenly blown away and start coming to church and becoming active. So we're all grateful for that, but we're mostly grateful for your dedication and your caring and your outreach. So tell us a little bit about the outreach programs that your church offers.
Well, I think a good example of a very intentional outreach is the annual Transgender Day of Remembrance service that we hold at Holy Trinity on November 20th of each year. On that date, across the country in various venues, not just churches or places of worship, but places, civic places and outdoor events, people gather to remember those who have been murdered just because of who they are, because they happen to be trans. We gather the community together on November 20th to commemorate those people who have been killed across the country, to read their names, to listen to speakers who happen to be trans. And that's a good example of an outreach effort that seeks to give a safe, warm, loving place to people who in our society are often marginalized, oppressed, and are victims of hatred and cruelty. So that's one example of our outreach into the community, reaching a population that is marginalized.
Yes, and we had a very good turnout for the past November service of remembrance. It was a packed audience, so we were very pleased to see so many people who were sensitive to that and who cared to remember and memorialize those unfortunate victims of violence. And Julie, tell me, you have always been a lifelong Lutheran, right? But not always a member of the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church.
That's correct. I've been a lifelong Lutheran. I've been in the ELCA, of course, since I was born and took communion. I lived in the Midwest. I moved out here 5-6 years ago, and I was looking for a church. I went to social media actually looking for some possibilities. I visited different churches, and I joined one in Brockton. That has recently closed. The congregation has merged with another congregation here in Brockton. And so I was looking for another church to be part of. And I was really looking for a place that I felt like at home, and also looking for a congregation that really reached out to the community, both the local community and even more statewide or national. So.
Okay, and so you came and you did some church hopping.
I visited a number of churches, and then I selected one that I felt at home with, and of course, as I said, the demise after a couple of years, and and during that time, I also started coming to Holy Trinity because they were offering Lenten services in the evening, and of course, being from the Midwest, I was familiar with that kind of tradition, and I really wanted to keep it, so I was looking for a solution for that as well.
Okay, and so, Pastor, those Lenten suppers are coming up sometime soon. You want to talk about that a little?
Yes, the theme this year is what is it like to be homeless? We have the great honor and privilege of putting together about 75 lunches every single week for Father Bills for people who are experiencing homelessness, and each month we provide about 115 dinner meals. So the idea behind our Lenten Soup Supper church experience is to get to know people who are experiencing homelessness. We're feeding them, but we don't actually have a chance to meet them. So this way, through video clips, that are actually coming from YouTube, we get to hear the stories of people who are experiencing homelessness in their own words and what it's like. So we'll gather in the fellowship hall around a big, large table, and while we worship and eat, we'll be watching videos as well, praying for our brothers and sisters who happen to be homeless, and also hopefully continuing to inspire us to serve those who are marginalized.
Yeah. And I know that those lunches go to 75 children, and that really highlights the need and the importance of this work when you think about children being homeless. So I know that our church also supports School on Wheels, and that is an educational program of tutors and others who help children who are homeless and are in shelters. And they have multiplied. They are no longer just in Brockton. They are everywhere. Attleboro, as far away as Attleboro and so forth. Just many, many centers. And why do you think this is such a problem, Pastor Polk?
Homelessness?
Yeah.
I think basically the bottom line is that it's a huge problem because those who have are not sharing enough with those who have not. And there's a huge disparity between socioeconomic classes in our country. There's a great disparity in wealth distribution, and it's like the majority of the population of this country missed that Sunday school lesson of how important it is to share. And if we did a better job as a country in sharing the wealth, there would be many less people who are experiencing homelessness.
Mm. Well, my personal beliefs about the Scandinavian model as one that we should have here, and certain senators like Senator Bernie Sanders and others have advocated that for years, where healthcare is free, where education, university education is free if you pass the student exam. And so many of my relatives over there who were farm boys and farm girls are now engineers and teachers, and one became a tax lawyer. He used to milk the cows. Why? It didn't matter how much money he had. It mattered that he just passed an exam, and most of the students in Sweden are smart, and they pass it, and they get to go on and really fulfill their potential. So that's one of my dreams and hopes. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but that is one way of getting rid of the homelessness problem. And also we have people who are mentally challenged who are homeless too, and that's a problem.
And I think another root cause of homelessness and poverty is the scourge of addiction, alcohol addiction and drug addiction. It's a huge challenge in our country. It's a huge challenge in our own particular community. You will see from many of the videos that we'll be showing at Holy Trinity that one of the main causes of people's troubles is their addiction to alcohol or drugs.
Yep. Wow, we have so many problems, and yet the church is an oasis of hope and peace, and a place for one to forget for an hour or so the real challenges that we face. But it gives us strength, doesn't it, to go out in the world and face those challenges and do something about it. Julie, what do you think of that?
I think we're our neighbors' keepers. We need to care for our neighbors. Whatever they look like, whatever circumstance they're in, whatever their situations are, we need to care for our neighbors.
Yeah, and so that is the mission of and the message of the clergy. I have interviewed quite a number of clergy so far, and everyone has that message of outreach and helping other people, not just because it's the mission of people, spiritual and religious people, but also because it should be the purpose of all of us. It makes you feel good. And it's not about you, or us. It's about the people that need help. So Holy Trinity Lutheran is doing that. What else is happening at Holy Trinity, Pastor Polk?
One of the things that we are engaged in right now too is a partnership with the Rose Conservatory. The Rose Conservatory is an after-school music program for the children of Brockton, and we've been engaged in fundraising for that organization. We've had them over to Holy Trinity to share their gifts and talents. It's a wonderful, wonderful group of children who are in need of support and in need of quality programming. And Greg Fernandez, who is the director of the Rose Conservatory, is a wonderful mentor and founding director of that organization. It brings so much joy to the children, to their families, and it also at the same time brings a tremendous amount of joy to our church when they're there. At our recent music concert in December, we had them perform with us once again, and one of the little boys who had gotten to know came up to me because he had been there many times, several times before at Holy Trinity. He said, "This place is starting to feel like home." And that warmed my heart, because that's part of our mission, is to give people a home where they feel safe and unconditionally loved.
Yes, and when the church had its 130th anniversary recently, it was filmed by ECAT, and then I went around and interviewed people, and among them were mothers and children from Rose Conservatory. And the mothers talked about how their shy little kid suddenly becomes self-sufficient, independent, and excited about learning, so therefore did much better in school, and was helpful around the house. It just changed the personalities of these children for the better. The kids were very excited that I interviewed. They really wanted to be there. They wanted to continue in the music training. And if you haven't heard their drumming choir, it is pretty outstanding. They have African drums. And so those of you might need to bring some cotton to put in your ears, because it's pretty loud, but wonderfully inspiring. Pastor, what would you say to those who are listening today, why they should consider Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, and why they should check you out?
Well, that's a very, very good question. What I'd like to say is that I believe that the church addresses timeless longings that all people are seeking for meaning, hope, and love and purpose. That is the particular mission of the church, and in this time of division, this time of an abundance of much too much violence in our country, I believe people are looking for meaning, hope, love, and purpose, and Holy Trinity has a safe place, a inviting place, a welcoming place for people to find meaning, to find purpose in their lives, to share love with each other and with the community, and to find meaning for their lives. So it's a place to explore, addressing those longings that we all share.
And Julie, what is your feelings about that? If you were to tell people in our home audience why they should consider Holy Trinity Lutheran Church as their home church, what would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I think about is, from my personal experience, it feels like home. Part of it is from the tradition. Part of it is from the people that you just see face to face on a Sunday or any other day of the week that you come by to volunteer. And thinking about the conservatory children, the kids just bring joy. Music is not my thing, but it's joy is the only word I can think of at the moment. And it's just lovely to see kids and adults, seniors, just a mix of all ages. And I'm just happy to be there.
Well, I'm sure Pastor Polk and and I and all the others are happy that you're there too.
Thank you.
And you brought somebody from your former church
Yes.
along.
Yes.
And Dolores, she's quite an asset to the church too. So thank you very much for sharing today,
Thank
coming.
you.
And those of you who are viewing this series, Introduction to Easton Clergy, please consider checking out Holy Trinity Lutheran Church on Lincoln Street in Northeastern, and you won't be disappointed. You will see the three of us there every Sunday. Not that you have to speak to us, but we hope you do, because we'll be coming and talking to you and welcoming you. So enjoy the week. Thank you for watching. Priscilla, Almquist-Olsen, be well.